of points of view in this debate, often brought up on this show a lot. Some think trans people have to wait too long for treatment here in the UK, especially here with the NHS. And Freda Wallace is a trans rights campaigner, host of Gender Nebulous podcast, joins me now to discuss this. Freda, not our first rodeo. You and I met a few months ago here, right? Right
yeah,
on
hi
Piers on
Rosanna, nice to speak to you again. Hopefully it won't be so chaotic this time.
It was fiery, wasn't it, Freda?
It was a little bit, and I do apologise if I was a little bit too aggressive. But I know I speak well because I care about what I say, you know. And it was interesting to listen to that story there because there was a mention of something being ideologically driven. Now, trans people are not ideologically driven. Trans just happens to be something we are. Now, we have to fit into society with that. And sadly, because of the history of the medicalization of our experience, part of that is going through psychological processes, going through checks and balances with doctors, gatekeeping of medications we might need. It's very, very difficult to be trans. If you were a young person now and you were coming out as trans, you could expect to wait as long as 7 years for a first appointment. And that's just and it's true of any NHS service at the moment. Sadly, the NHS is so underfunded. I don't know really why we're talking about this as a trans issue, because it's a mental health issue as well. Because unfortunately, like I said before, the way the trans experience has been codified, it's become a mental health. It comes under mental health, really. But I disagree with that. And unfortunately, not to take away anything from that person's experience, because I don't know them, but we hear more about detransitioners than we hear about the trans medical experience, because that is the thing that is politically and ideologically driven. We have to talk about trans people as human beings. And another thing that sticks out to me about this is this idea of medicalization. We're often talked about, oh, you can't just change into a woman if you have surgeries. The surgery thing isn't really the important thing for me. It's the social thing. It's being accepted socially, to be accepted in law. You know, if I wanted to get married, say, if I was involved in some complex legal situation. And the thing that would change that, the thing that would empower and make young people happy would be self-ID. That is the thing that would change all that. And it would be so easy to, it's already gone through in Scotland. It would have been law now in Scotland, but Westminster blocked it. And it was blocked for ideological reasons. It wasn't blocked for any medical reason. It wasn't blocked for any safeguarding reasons. It's been proved time and time again that self-ID only it's like the high tide that lifts all boats. That's what self-ID is. And I know
self-ID is that important, because obviously it is the bone of biggest contention, I think, when it comes to the gender identity debate here in the United Kingdom. You know, the common refrain you hear is people saying, I will give you the pronouns you want socially in public, but self-ID, i.e. signing a legal declaration to change your sex legally and officially, there is a lot of opposition to that, but you're saying it means a lot to you.
Yeah, the opposition is ideological and political, and they've had to. I mean, if you look at the conversation about it, they have to think. The people that are against that have to find the worst case scenarios in the world. They will scour the world for the one time somebody somebody was a sexual predator and happened to be trans, and that story will make it to the Daily Mail. We know that self-ID would not change. It would not affect any of that. We know that because it's already self-ID exists in, like, I think it's 20 countries now, and there's no reports of it being a problem.
Freda.
And the actual the UN had to intervene actually in the Scottish debate, because Victor Bolas from the UN, he had to intervene and say this is inhumane, this goes against human rights, and that's why Baroness Faulkner is currently being investigated for a corruption of the EHRC. And that's where we are. That's where trans people are at the moment, Rosanna. And the thing that would change it and make everybody happier, we wouldn't need to feel validated by a medical experience if we felt that the government and people who make laws are actually batting for us. Can I just add? I mean, I've written to many politicians, and there are some good people out there in the Tory party. I spoke to Caroline Noakes, and it was really sad today to see what was happening to Mary Black, who's a trans ally. And when anybody stands up for us, when any person puts their head above the parapet, the little Twitter trolls come out and they just try and cut them down, and it's really sad.
Freda, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we did bring you on so we could hear from your point of view. I think that pink chair has done something to you. You're a pussycat now. It was great to speak to you. Thanks so much. Look.
Bye.
Uncensored next tonight, the latest on the mysterious mushroom deaths investigation. We brought